busy chatting. Thank you all for coming here today. It's great to see a coalition turn out representing different people, different parties, different political ideologies all joining here together today under one cause, climate change. When I started talking to people about the COP26 coalition and what we were doing here, the conversation moved towards things like single-use plastic, electric cars and other things that we can individually do, that we have to do to help. The thing is, as much as all of that might help, it won't be enough to fix it. We didn't cause the situation we're in now, and we aren't going to be able to fix it with refillable water bottles or eco-friendly glitter. For example, even if we all went vegan, which is, by the way, the single most effective way individuals can have a positive impact on climate change, it won't ensure sustainable agriculture. It isn't even necessarily accessible to the poor and underprivileged of us. What needs to change is the system.
Woo! Woo!
The processes need to change, and this action must come from the top. We need investment in innovation, in change, incentivising sustainable agriculture, for example, working with farmers. In fact, what we should be doing is working with all workers to find out what is best to do for all climate change issues. And I would support unions like Unite, who are currently calling for exactly this. You might wonder why Stand Up to Racism is part of this coalition. You might wonder what climate change has to do with racism. But it's everything, actually. Like has been mentioned before, the world's wealthiest 1% are responsible for twice as many carbon emissions as the poorest 50% of the global population. And yet they're the ones making the decisions. The consequences of climate change disproportionately impact the global south and people of the global majority, and even more so actually women in those communities. And the methods currently being employed to fight climate change, like Julie mentioned before, these carbon offsets, are in fact resulting in what we're calling carbon colonialism. It's the practice of claiming space in the global south to meet the needs of the global north in the name of carbon dioxide reduction. It results in even more disparity. So you see, the fight against inequality and the fight for climate justice are the same fight.
Woo!
And in the same way, our government are responsible for paying lip service to anti-racism whilst upholding racist policies and practices. Our government is also responsible for saying they care about climate change whilst taking no real action to do anything about it. Empty words make up empty promises, and we see our so-called leaders taking domestic private flights to conferences in order to make them. The consistent prioritisation of profit over people, personal gain over universal global progress and survival, convenience and privilege over the greater good. And you might say, well, what are we going to do about it? What can we do about it? We can't just change the way the world works. But actually, the pandemic has shown us that massive action by government is possible. In the face of crises, we saw waters clear, emissions reduced, planes grounded for the sake of protecting lives, and we must see the same level of action with the same urgency to prevent climate breakdown and our global demise, and we must see it now.
Woo! 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 Woo!
We know what needs to be done. We know how to do it. We know it can be done. We can turn this around for future generations, for our children, for their children, but we must stop talking about what we can do, and we must see action. And we, the coalition here today across the world, stand united Because the climate knows no politics, no parties. The only way to fight climate change is as one people, one planet, together. And we say, no more coal, no more oil, keep your carbon in the soil.
Woo!
Coal, no more coal. Keep your carbon in the soil. No more coal, no more oil. Keep your carbon in the soil.
What do we want? Climate justice. When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Climate justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Climate justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
Thank you.
Woo!